So how are Republicans reacting to this seismic Democratic change, and should we expect to hear from those on the right in the coming days and weeks? And probably will. Let's bring back Jessica Millan Patterson, Elizabeth Pipko, and Steve Hilton. Thank you both, or thank you all three. Steve, I saw you there in the corner. I'm curious because J.D. Vance was talking to Jesse Waters earlier, and he said this. Watch.
Is it a coup against Joe Biden?
It's sort of, yeah.
I think it is. I mean, look, there's a constitutional process, the 25th Amendment. If Joe Biden can't run for president, he can't serve as president. And if they want to take him down because he's mentally incapable of serving, invoke the 25th Amendment. You don't get to sort of do this in the most politically beneficial way for Democrats. If it's an actual problem, they should take care of it in the appropriate way.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of saying assaulting democracy without actually saying it. Elizabeth Pipko, does he have a point?
He 100% has a point. Look, the American people deserve answers, right? They deserve to know if this is a candidate that's being put in for the right reasons or not. And they also deserve to know if it's a candidate being chosen by them or being put in by this donor class, right? We have to ask ourselves, if Joe Biden had backed out of the race a couple of months ago and they had time, would they have had a Democratic primary? And would Kamala Harris even be the chosen pick of the American people? There's a lot the American people are owed here, and they're not getting any of those answers.
Yeah, it's interesting, Steve Hilton. You know, I know you're in politics, and I know you know how important opposition research is. Do you think Republicans are just thinking, man, we have got some opposition research information on Kamala Harris to beat the band?
Well, look, I'm sure they've been doing that work. We know the Trump campaign has been preparing for this scenario, and there's a lot there, particularly from her record in California. I mean, I just looked up a piece and put it out on my social media today that I did when she was named vice president. This is 4 years ago on my show when I looked at her record. And when she was San Francisco district attorney, for example, she covered up child sexual abuse. She covered it up. And she brags about prosecuting sex offenders. She covered up one of the vilest crimes you could possibly do. She sided with the people who were doing it rather than with the victims who were begging her as DA to give them the information so they could mount a civil prosecution. She stood with the perpetrators instead of the victims. When she was Attorney General in California, she played a role in one of the most disastrous things that has destroyed our state. Jessica knows this incredibly well, of course. Proposition 47, right at the heart of all the chaos and crime and homelessness and drug addiction problems we have in California. That's what we need to focus on.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Proposition 47 is the thing that gave people, if you want to go into any kind of store and you steal less than $950 worth of stuff, it is no longer a felony, and so they just steal at will. I'm wondering to you, Jessica, because, you know, Republicans, we mentioned that the Trump PAC has already dropped an ad against Kamala Harris, but there's a possibility, maybe it's not a huge possibility, but a very real possibility that in 3.5 weeks, Kamala Harris flames out, and they've got to take on yet another opponent.
They are very clearly still in disarray. And with so many that still have not endorsed Vice President Harris, it's pretty clear that this is not a done deal yet. And for all of the reasons that have been stated, her horrendous history here in California, they're going to be talking about her job as border czar. They're going to be talking about her war on American energy. These are all issues that are really important to American voters right now. And California Democrats will be able to tell you just as well as anyone else in the country that she's not ready for prime time.
Yeah. Is there a vice presidential pick, Elizabeth Pipko, that you're concerned about that could make Kamala Harris a viable threat?
There certainly is not. Look, Trace, I did not take this job just to take it. I can tell you right here, I would not have taken the job if Donald Trump was not the man on the ticket, because this is not a man and a ticket that you see every other race. This is an actual movement, and it's a movement that's gone up against the political machine that's wanted to take him out since he first announced that he was running for president in 2015. Every time they try to knock him down, he comes back stronger. There is absolutely no one that we fear. There's no one that Donald Trump fears. He's the strongest he has been since he announced his run first in 2015, and we don't fear any candidate or any vice president that they can come up with.
And I wonder, Steve Hilton, if you look at her, the totality of Kamala Harris's record, how in the world does she navigate the border crisis? I mean, how in the world politically, because it's such a big issue. I mean, you can get the other stuff, oh, that was in California, or she was getting, she was helping bail out the George Floyd protesters and rioters and so forth. Oh, well, it was, but the border is a big, big issue, and navigating around that is going to be tricky at best.
Right. It's the biggest, and it's the biggest liability for her in terms of her record, as Jessica was saying. And look, I mean, she's going to not want to talk about it. Before all this, they only had two arguments when it was Biden-Harris, basically abortion and democracy. They can't exactly use democracy now after what's happened. So she's going to be going on about abortion. But just to pick up on what Jessica was saying, I mean, if you talk to California Democrats, as I have, about her, they can't stand her. The people who know her best think she's absolutely terrible. And then the defining problem with her, this is where the real argument needs to be made about the future, is that she's just like Joe Biden, a machine politician who will say anything, do anything, and that means she will pander to the left, just as Joe Biden did, and land us with the same disastrous set of policies on the border, on gas prices and the economics and the regulation and crime and all this far left stuff, that whether she believes it or not, she will cave to the far left activists who really run the Democratic Party these days.
It's an interesting point that Steve makes there, Jessica, because he's saying, the bottom line here is that Joe Biden and that Kamala Harris will virtually say anything to help their. But, when Joe Biden says something and he screws it up, you write it off as, well, Joe Biden's always been a gaffe machine, or Joe Biden's getting older, or so forth. But when Kamala Harris messes something up, it is, I mean, the word salads that she's famous for, it's harder to write those off as anything except for, just not being great at communicating her message.
Yeah, and the policies behind it. The messenger matters a lot less than the actual message, which is terrible. And their policies have failed. They've failed Americans. We've seen it all through the last 3.5 years. And that's why Americans are ready for something new.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Pipko, to you, I'm just curious if you think that there's something that Republicans need to prepare for. Do you go with everything you have at Kamala Harris and think that she's the candidate, or do you kind of hold some of your, some weapons in your quiver so that you can go after somebody if that day should happen to come?
The fact is, we're not going against a candidate. We're going against a set of policies which have hurt the American people tremendously. That's something that actually most Americans on the left and the right agree with. If you're looking at these poll numbers, you can see that most people agree with the fact that this administration does not know what they're doing and does not know what's best for the American people. So no, there's nothing that we are worried about, nothing we have to prepare for that's outside the box. We know for a fact that right now Donald Trump is the man for the job. He's the man that the American people want. And it's something that both sides can now agree on, because she is incredibly unpopular. Joe Biden is incredibly unpopular. And it's because these policies simply do not work.
Yeah, I've got 30 seconds for you to wrap us up, Steve.
So a final thought, Trace, looking at Kamala Harris, California Democrats have never performed well in nationwide elections because they are too left-wing and they don't know how to talk to people and persuade them in the rest of the country. California Republicans have always done very well. You look at Richard Nixon, of course, Ronald Reagan, one of the greatest leaders we've ever had. So if history's our guide, she's not really going to be the answer to the nightmares that the Democrats have imposed upon themselves.